He learned his lessons well. You probably think of serial killers as men without emotions. Cold-blooded monsters who are unaffected by love, kindness, compassion, or even sympathy. But most people don't realize that serial killers once looked up to their parents as children. These people were once innocent babies who were loved by someone. They were held, fed, and cuddled by the person or persons who brought them into the world. And for those lucky enough to have been loved as children, they were given unconditional love by their parents. But Ed Gein didn't get that chance. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today, we'll be taking a look at the twisted childhood that turned a sweet boy into a notorious killer. If you haven't subscribed yet, then make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes. Let's begin. A dark childhood. Edward Theodore Gein was born on August 2nd, 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. His mother, Augusta Gein, gave birth to his twin brother, Henry Water. Unfortunately, Henry didn't survive for long and died just a few days after being born. So Augusta told her husband George that their son was stillborn, even though in reality she killed the baby because she didn't want a son. Only 2 years later, Augusta gave birth again, and this time she decided to keep the child. She named him Edward, but everyone called him Ed. This time, Augusta did not tell her husband that she had killed their second child. Instead, she raised Ed as if he were the most precious gift God could have ever given her, which created a unique bond between mother and son. George and Augusta were married for almost 10 years before their third child, another son, was born. They named him Henry after the son Augusta killed shortly after his birth. Although she showed affection toward Ed, Augusta was extremely strict and reserved when it came to interacting with the outside world. She constantly warned her youngest son that the rest of the world was evil and dangerous, especially women. Her deep religious views also meant that she strongly believed in punishing her children for being tempted by Satan. But Augusta was not the only harsh person in the house. George was an alcoholic who beat both himself and his sons regularly. Because of this, Ed felt that he could only count on himself. As a result, when Ed was just 9 years old, he promised to himself that he would never become like his father. From that moment on, Ed decided that he would live a life dedicated to his mother. "I was never so much as allowed to go down the road," Gein said in an interview later in life. "My mother said that if I went down there, I'd pick up all kinds of bad habits." A troubled youth. When Ed turned 16 years old, he dropped out of school because his grades were terrible. But most importantly, his mother wanted him to stay at home. By the time he was 18 years old, Ed struggled with stuttering problems, social anxiety, and developed a strong lisp, which made him feel very self-conscious. All of these issues resulted in Ed becoming an outcast amongst his peers, which led to him becoming very lonely. All he had was his mother, but the more he matured, the more he realized what kind of evil person she was. Even so, he chose to ignore it and continued to support his mother unconditionally. In 1928, George passed away, which left Ed and Henry to work the family farm while living in their mother's abusive household. There wasn't enough food for 3 people. Ed said about the aftermath of his father's death, "I had to get up and start working." Despite feeling secluded from society, Ed managed to find solace in nature. He enjoyed walking in the woods near his home where he would collect animal skins and bones. To him, these treasures represented the only adventure he was able to experience in his otherwise mundane life. But these walks would end tragically when one day Ed accidentally shot his brother Henry during a hunting trip. Ed explained that he could remember the event, and that it must have happened when his mind went blank due to the heat of the moment. However, this tragic shooting served as a turning point in the lives of the 2 brothers. And soon after, the unimaginable happened. Henry was right. Over the years, Augusta's behavior had taken a toll on Ed and Henry's mental health. Henry began to feel that his brother needed help, and even suggested that he should seek professional help for his strange behavior. Unfortunately, Ed resisted this idea and refused to believe that something was wrong with him. But little did Ed know that his brother was plotting to commit Ed to an institution. One night, Ed woke up to see his brother standing over him with a lit match. "Why do you come around here?" Ed asked him, to which Henry responded, "You're crazy and I'm afraid of you." With that, Henry threw the match into a bucket of gasoline and set their bedroom on fire. Ed managed to escape through a window while screaming for his mother. Augusta came out of her room to check on her sons, and Henry rushed to help his brother escape. But unfortunately, she tripped and fell while running to safety. Tragically, she suffered severe burns and died the following day. The aftermath. When firefighters arrived at the scene, they found Henry dead from smoke inhalation. Now officially an orphan, Ed called a friend of his parents to inform him that both he and his mother had passed away. The man came to the Gein farm, took Ed into town, and reported the deaths. However, he noticed that Ed seemed unfazed by the tragedy. According to the man, Ed was too calm and collected for someone who had lost their mother. This observation marked the beginning of Ed's first official brush with the law. After Augusta's death, Ed was questioned about starting the fire. He denied doing so and provided the police with an alibi. As a result, they dropped the investigation. Days later, when the man who helped Edie reported the events to police, he admitted that he had lied about his alibi and told officers that he started the fire himself. Still, the police dismissed the case and treated it as an accident. Then they left Ed alone with his late mother's corpse. But Ed claimed that he was incapable of harming his mother and told the police that whoever committed the murder must have come from outside their property. Once again, Ed's bizarre behavior raised suspicion, but the police were unable to prove that he was guilty of murdering his mother. This may have been because Ed had carefully constructed a narrative that portrayed him as a victim who had lost both his parents in a mysterious incident, lonely man. In the following years, Ed continued to live in the farmhouse as if nothing had happened. He dressed in his mother's clothes and slept in her bed. Furthermore, he prepared meals using her dishes and cut down trees while humming her favorite songs. He also talked to her portrait as if she were still alive. It was clear that Ed was struggling to cope with his grief. Ed's bizarre behavior did not go unnoticed, however, and rumors quickly spread throughout the town. Many people were shocked to learn about his lifestyle. Some even started to claim that he was insane. However, these speculations were never proven, and Ed's actions continued to confuse the townspeople. Although Ed had no criminal record, his past began to catch up with him. When he was caught stealing supplies from a local tavern, he was arrested and charged with burglary. Soon after, Ed was released from jail and returned home. People in Plainfield, Wisconsin, reacted with outrage upon learning that he had been released. And a group of angry locals gathered together to confront him. They threatened to kill him unless he left town immediately, and so Ed did. He moved to a small cottage near his mother's farmhouse. Now alone and isolated, Ed spent his days collecting items from garbage cans and hunting wild animals to eat. He skinned the animals himself and ate their meat as sashimi. He also started frequenting a tavern where he met Mary Hogan. However, Mary was just using Ed for his money, and she eventually left him. Unable to deal with his loneliness, Ed decided to leave Plainfield. Sadly, Ed's departure did not bring peace to the people of Plainfield. Just a year later, several women from the area disappeared. No one knew what had happened to them, but many suspected that Ed was somehow involved. Eventually, the police searched his home and discovered the horrific truth. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe and leave a like. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, then click on the screen to watch one of our other videos. Thanks for watching.